recording or reviewing decision. This absence of transparency allows for decisions to be made behind closed doors, often benefiting the influential few at the cost of justice. A prime example comes from Uttar Pradesh, where in 2016, a Nyaya Panchayat ruled in favor of a powerful local family in land dispute, despite the legal evidence clearly favoring the opposing party. This decision was made without any documented reasoning, and the affected family had no means to appeal the judgment. Thirdly, Nyaya Panchayats are not equipped to handle complex legal matters. Nyaya Panchayats often deal with cases that are too complex for their informal and untrained members. These disputes can range from property issues to family law matters and even criminal offences, issues that require a deep understanding of the law. Yet, Nyaya Panchayats are often compromised of local community members with no legal training, leaving them ill equipped to handle these cases effectively. A 2015 report by the Indian Alliance for Legal Aid found that in rural areas, nearly 40% of disputes brought before the panchayats involved matters that required formal legal expertise, such as child custody, domestic violence, and inheritance. In many cases, the panchayats made decisions that were contrary to Indian law, undermining the legal rights of individuals involved. For example, in 2017, a woman in Bihar was told by her local Nyaya panchayats to reconcile with her abusive husband rather than pursue formal legal action, despite her complaints of domestic violence. This not only violated her legal rights but also perpetuated an unsafe environment for her and her children. Such decisions are far too common in these informal bodies, and they only serve to further harm vulnerable individuals, undermining a formal judicial system. Another significant issue with Nyaya Panchayats is that they undermine the authority of formal legal system, creating confusion and inconsistency in the application of justice. These bodies often function as parallel justice systems, making conflicting rulings that confuse the public and erode trust in the rule of law. A study by the Vidhi Central for Legal Policy in 2020 found that over 30% of cases resolved by panchayats conflicted with rulings from formal courts. In land dispute in Bihar, for example, a Nyaya Panchayat ruled in favor of one party even after a formal court had already delivered a ruling in favor of the opposing party. This creates confusion among the public, who may be unsure whether to follow the formal legal system or rely on the panchayat. By banning Nyaya Panchayats, we can consolidate the justice system, ensuring that there is one clear and consistent legal framework that people can rely on. This would increase trust in the formal judiciary and ensure that justice is applied equally and fairly to all individuals. Gender bias and marginalization of women. Nyaya panchayats are also often sites of gender bias, where women are marginalized, silenced, or subjected to discriminatory rulings. The lack of legal training and formal procedure in these bodies results in gender-based injustice, and particularly in cases of domestic violence and sexual harassment and marital disputes. According to a UN women report from 2016, 70% of women in rural India reported that they had no access to a fair justice system due to discrimination within local panchayats. One notorious example occurred in 2018 when a woman in Uttar Pradesh was forced by her local panchayats to marry her rapist in a form of compromise. This is a clear violation of her rights and demonstrates the dangerous consequences of leaving justice in the hands of unqualified, biased individuals. In conclusion, Naya panchayats have outlived their usefulness. They perpetuate caste-based discrimination, lack transparency and accountability, and fail to handle complex legal matters. They undermine the formal judicial system and are sites of gender-based injustice. The evidence I've provided shows that
Please
the
conclude.
country.
Please conclude.
Yes, the evidence I've provided shows that the continued existence of Nyaya Panchayats only harms the very individuals they are meant to serve. Thank you.
Thank you for your
चुप चुप चुप.
explanation. Now, proceeding to the first speaker of the opposition, I invite the leader of opposition to put forth his opinion.
To understand the importance of Nyaya,
Please unmute yourself.
to understand the importance of Nyaya
Yeah.
Panchayats in the judiciary, first we need to understand what does Nyaya Panchayat refer to. Nyaya Panchayat is a dispute resolution system at the grassroots level in India. One definite way of conceiving Nyaya Panchayat is that they are local institutions staffed by local communities, community members, and answerable to local attitudes and locally defined needs. We as a team would like to propose an idea and a concept that whenever the Nyaya Panchayats function as judicial components of the Panchayat system, which ensures proper administration of justice at the local or village level, whenever there is a legal matter, there must be a legal aid present at the Nyaya Panchayats to advise the people in legal jurisdiction, and thus maintaining the quorum of proper legal jurisdiction with village administration, which is followed currently by the Nyaya Panchayats. Rather than banning, if we implement these kind of policies in the Nyaya Panchayats, we will have a better resolution to our problems. Nyaya Panchayat's function is to deal with minor civil and criminal cases, jurisdiction which extends to offences such as theft and robbery, and punishing the accused to pay a fine which is very minimal. Right now in India, the very minimal fine for the Nyaya Panchayats was fixed to be rupees 100. In civil matters, Nyaya Panchayats have jurisdiction. In the civil matters, the Nyaya Panchayats have the jurisdiction in cases such as the suits for money and goods. The Nyaya Panchayat calls the witnesses and the parties to record their evidence or
Sure.
produce any relevant documents or facts. The Nyaya Panchayats deal with local cases of robberies, trespassing, and personal disputes, and can impose a maximum fine of rupees 100. Questions might strike in the head of the opposition. To answer this, the committees of Government of India in the past have also emphasized that if distributive justice is to become emphasized and poverty, Nyaya Panchayat at the village level is the only answer to it. In village societies, disputes are also more than mere legal cases. Ethnographers have historically contextualized the disputes in wider issues of politics, kinship, and religion in society, relevance, layers of
Sure.
meanings beyond what immediately impressed. I'll take your POI afterwards. Revealing layers of meaning beyond what immediately impressed the observers as disputes between two parties. A report submitted by the Congress Working Committee in 1954 also gives an account of how the Nyaya Panchayats have historically went about addressing disputes before it, and doing so what inherent advantages the Nyaya Panchayat used to have. The Nyaya Panchayat plays the most important role in the Indian judiciary system, drawing your attention towards the importance of the first and most important pillar of the democracy, judiciary. The term judiciary, when supported by the term independent, adds a very great emphasis on a nation's development. In a plethora of cases, the Supreme Court has asserted that the independence of judiciary is the basic feature of the constitution in India. Now imagine a panchayat where all the legal cases are aided, as we gave the solution, by the legal aids whenever there is a matter of legal context. What is the solution? The solution comes out that the people are helped by great legal aids to uphold and protect the rights of the citizen working 9 to 5, 6 days a week, or a citizen who produces crops and edibles for the entire nation. The judiciary at the village level is needed, which is the Nyaya Panchayat. Imagine the scenario: the judiciary of the most populous country in this world helps the aspirations of the people and clears the racks of pending cases in the courts of India. Here, I would like to introduce some points which actually impose the functioning of Nyaya Panchayat in the Indian democracy, disposing of large number of cases of regular courts and relieving them from the racks of burden overloaded on them. On the other hand, the Nyaya Panchayat can resolve hefty number of cases through peaceful conciliation because most of the members of the villages are known to each other. Nyaya Panchayats could bring justice nearer to the villages without involving the expenditure of hefty fines and hefty transport costs. People in a village are so closely known to each other that producing of false evidences and other kind of activities cannot be promoted, because the judiciary functions in the value of truth, and when truth prevails, judiciary prevails. Panchayat, being drawn from among people, village folks, strive at decisions which are at the same time consistent with the peculiar conditions of the parties. Thus, for concluding, anyone ever think about banning or ending the jurisdiction of the Nyaya Panchayats as an institution has potentially to reshape our legal culture by making it more people oriented while augmenting the capacity of the legal system to deliver substantive justice across the country. Let's reduce the judiciary's burden by implementing proper policies for the Nyaya Panchayat. Thank you.
All right. Now moving to the proposition side, I invite the Deputy Prime Minister to put forth his opinion.
Can I start with a countdown?
Yeah, you can start.
3, 2, 1. Good day, honorable judges, judge, fellow debaters, and worthy opposition. My name is Rishan, and the motion before us, our side of the house is strictly for the motion. This house would like to ban Nyaya Panchayats. So my first point is lack of legal recourse and appeal mechanism. Nyaya Panchayats are informal. Nyaya Panchayats are informal.
अबे गायब हो गया कायू सुन के गायब हो गया वीडियो बंद कर दे अबे नहीं मत बंद कर भगवान देखते हैं अबे वीडियो बड़ा नहीं किया तो वीडियो बड़ा हो जाएगा व्यू में जा
I start again with my video off.
If you have any technical issue, you can turn off. But if it's possible, you can turn on after.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I just got disconnected because of bad Wi-Fi. That's why.
Yeah.
Thank you, Judge. Yeah. So I'm starting in 3, 2, 1. Honorable Judge, fellow debaters, and worthy opposition. My name is. This house would.
Your voice is not audible.
Nyaya Panchayat. My first. Sorry?
Please check your internet connection because your voice is not audible to the opposition members and to the judge also.
One second. Can I move to a different room? If possible.
No, not different room. You please check your internet connection and then you can start. You can turn off your video if there is any problem with the internet.
Okay.
All right, go.
हम अपना लेकिन स्पीकर व्यू कर देंगे
अरे भाई लेकिन लोग चीटिंग कर रहा है हां भाई उसका टीममेट तो बचा दिया इसको
1 second, Judge.
बोल के उसको फट रहा है उसका तो उसको इंटरनेट कनेक्शन लिखना चैट में
तो सबका दोस्त मुझे जैसा नहीं ना होता है भाई
चैट में लिखना
क्या
नहीं
Can I start now, Judge?
Yeah, start.
Okay. I'll be starting in 3, 2, 1. Good day, honorable judge, fellow debaters, and worthy opposition. My name is Rishan, and I rise to speak in support of the motion. This house had banned Nyaya Panchayats. So my first point is lack of legal recourse and appeal mechanism. Nyaya Panchayats are informal extrajudicial bodies that often lack clear rules or procedures to follow. One of the fundamental features of any formal judicial system is the right to appeal. In India, when a citizen believes they have been wronged by a court decision, they can appeal to a higher higher courts to rectify the situation. However, in the case of Nyaya Panchayats, there is no such option. Once a decision is made, it is typically final with no oversight from higher authorities. This lack of recourse leads to a significant injustice, as there is no higher body to which individuals can turn for a fair review of their case. This is particularly concerning in a system where the decisions can be arbitrary, biased, or on faulty reasoning, as there is no safeguard to correct such errors. So now moving on to my second point, that is abuse of power by panchayat leaders. Nyaya Panchayats often have no set protocols for leadership and decision making. In most cases, the panchayat is headed by local elders who may be respected for their wisdom, but often wield disproportionate
अबे
power.
पीओआई तो तुम्हें बैठा
The
हुआ है.
power dynamics within these informal bodies can lead to abuse of power, where
पीआई
the
बोलो.
elders or leaders may make decisions based
अबे
on personal
पीओआई बोलो.
relationships, political influence, or social status rather than the impartial reasoning. In some instances, this leads to in some instances this leads to the favoring certain individuals or families within the community, further entrenching local power structures. When this happens, justice is not served, rather, decisions are made that
अबे यही किससे कर
benefit
रहा
a select few while excluding or oppressing others. This undermines the very concept of justice and fairness that our legal system is built upon. Now, moving on to my third point, that is encouragement of harmful social practices. Yeah,
हम लोग क्या
uh,
बोली थी इस पे?
encouragement of harmful social practices. Another critical issue with the Nyaya Panchayats is a tendency to condone harmful social practices. In several instances, Nyaya Panchayats have been known to uphold practices that are not only outdated but also in direct violation of human rights. For example, there have been reports of the Nyaya Panchayats sanctioning practices such as honor killings, child marriage, and the caste-based exclusion of individuals. These practices are not only immoral, they are illegal under Indian law and against the principles enshrined in our constitution. By allowing such practices to persist, Nyaya Panchayats are not only violate the legal norms of our society, but also actively hinder social progress.
अबे पीओआई
Banning
बोलो.
these systems would send a
अबे यही
clear
वाली
message
बात है.
that such harmful practices will not be
पीओआई.
tolerated, and uh, I'll be taking a POI later, and that justice must be aligned with the modern human rights and
इस
values.
बार कोई पीआई खेलने नहीं हो रहा, छोड़ दो
Point
टेंशन
4,
ना, वो लोग पूरा
moving on to my last point of
अबे
this
बोल दिया
speech,
था उन लोग
is
आगे नहीं
that
है नहीं.
हाँ तो हम लोग ने जो भी लिया
there is the inefficient dispute resolution.
बिना
While
पीआई
Nyaya
मतलब
Panchayats
समझते
are
हम लोग बैठे
often
थे
lauded for providing speedy
लास्ट में
resolutions
देखो
in disputes, this speed can
बैठना
come at
मजा.
an
अबे टिकट
expense
देखो
of
मजा इसका.
fairness in many cases.
अबे फ्लाइट में
In
जाएगा कि
many
ट्रेन में.
cases, this processes
ट्रेन में
followed
मिलेगा
by
टिकट.
Nyaya Panchayats are
मिल
not
जाएगा मिल
thorough
फ्लाइट में जाएंगे भाई.
enough to ensure that all sides of a dispute are properly heard. Additionally, due to their informal
अबे ट्रेन में 2 दिन
nature,
लगता है जाने
many
में.
cases lack
भाई
proper
2 दिन लगेगा 3 दिन लगेगा, इसका
documentation,
कोई गारंटी
and
है नहीं कि
तो
and
जीतने तो ही जा रहे
judgments
हैं.
are made based on personal opinions rather than legal principles. While efficiency is important, it should
क्या
never come
करें.
at a cost of, of a fair trial. Quick
अच्छा
decisions
सीखा पहला बार
that are
स्टार्ट किया
based
हम तो
on
सीखने आए हैं भाई.
insufficient
डोमिनेट कर
evidence
देना
or improperly
भाई
examined facts can
अभी
lead to
सीखना नहीं मैं
injustice.
पूरा.
Nyaya Panchayat
अरे
systems
मैं आई
does
तो हो
not
गया
have
भाई.
the necessary infrastructure to ensure that
हमारा कैसे नहीं हो
disputes
सकता
are
यार,
resolved
क्या
justly,
बात है
or
भाई.
that
ये 6 बार घूम गया
the
हमारा
right
ये,
to a fair
छह बार
hearing is upheld for all parties involved. And with that, I would like to conclude. Thank you, and I hope you vote for our side of the house.
All right, DPM for his speech.
पूरा वो होटल
Now moving further to the opposition. Speaker number two, that is the deputy leader of opposition.
Yes
So
sir.
you can start.
Yes sir. I be starting on a. It has started. On 2nd August 2024, the sir the time okay. Sir the timer has not.
No, yeah, you can start.
On 2nd August 2024, the then Chief Justice of India, D.Y. Chandrachud, himself said, and I quote him, Supreme Court judges sit on elevated dais and only lawyers are before us. We hardly know the crimes. The people for whom we render justice in the Supreme Court is invisible to us, and that we feel is a drawback of the work of the Supreme Court. He accepted that people get fed up with protracted court proceedings and the process itself becomes a punishment. And do not think that this statement was made for the rural people or the poor people. Real cases hardly reach the Supreme Court. He was talking about the big cases that have somehow managed to reach the Supreme Court, and then just imagine what would be the condition of the rural cases in a judiciary which has nepotistic and entitled judges. Therefore, the more the cases are settled outside the courts, the better it is. And Nyaya Panchayat is the way for it. Nyaya Panchayats represent a decentralized dispute redressal system for the rural people, which are 65% of India's population. Cases like inheritance claims, boundary issues, trespassing cases, child custody issues, thefts, simple injuries, wrongful possessions are very common disputes in villages, and they can be mediated and solved in Nyaya Panchayats. In a judiciary which already has 4.5 crore pending cases, as the we do not want them to be solving cases of a theft of a goat or a bottle guard from one's neighbor's farm. Nyaya Panchayat significantly reduced the burden of the former judicial system. The government of India in 2008, with the Gyam Nyaya Act, we intended to prioritize Gram Nyayas over Nyaya Panchayats. And what did it result in? In a country which has 6.5 lakh villages, only 490 Gram Nyayas were notified, out of which only 321 are currently operational according to the government's own data. In a country of 6.5 lakh villages, only 321 Gram Nyayas are operational, and you believe that you will ban Nyaya Panchayats and the people would get justice in just these 321 Gram Nyayas. All this while there are 10,000s of Nyaya Panchayats functioning currently in the country. Even the Supreme Court has questioned the feasibility of the Gyam Nyayas while hearing a PII for enforcement of the Act, and I quote its comment: "You are asking the state governments to give funds for these Gyam Nyayas when they do not have or provide funds for regular courts. The regular courts are even working out of rented buildings and godowns, and you expect that Gyam Nyayas, we have the funds to make Gyam Nyayas in every village." So with this position of the rural formal judicial system, and banning Nyaya Panchayats will result in a disaster for the rural people. I recently visited a village named Ryasa Beya for a social impact program in Jharkhand, and that village had a population of only 150 people, and it was 30 kilometers away from a Pakka road. Meaning one has to take for an hour on foot to just reach that village. So how do you expect people from that village to go to the district court to get their problem solved? Similarly, according to the 2011 census, approximately 3.5 lakh villages have a population of less than 1,000. Meaning 60% of the Indian villages have a population of less than 1,000. So it is not feasible to make and form codes for such road denomination when there are so small villages and 6.5 lakh villages. You cannot make codes for each of the villages because they are so small and the denomination is so small. The people of a village know each other very well, and therefore it is very difficult to lie in the Nyaya Panchayats. Also, there is a risk if someone intends to lie in the Nyaya Panchayat, because everyone knows each other very well in a village. Then there is a very high risk that if you lie in a Nyaya Panchayat, then you will be looked down upon by the villagers. And also, there will be a risk of that you even get boycotted. Now, the proposition was talking about caste discriminations and women discriminations. Let me remind you that in the Nyaya Panchayats, there is a separate provision for caste reservations as well as women reservation in in selecting the panchas of the Nyaya Panchayats. The panchas of the Nyaya Panchayats are selected by two methods. They can be elected as well as they can be nominated also. So I would like to conclude that banning Nyaya Panchayats would result in a disaster because we do not have any infrastructure to provide justice other than the Nyaya Panchayat to the 6.5 lakh villages that we are having in the country. Yes, thank you. POI, sorry. 1 minute is done now. Okay, thank you.
Okay, you can have PO.
Okay, POI.
If there is no PI, we can move to the next speaker. So I invite.
Can I ask my POI?
Yeah, you can have.
Given
In
that
15 seconds, you have to put forth.
Given that the panchayat system is based on local leadership, how do you address the concerns such leaders are often influenced by societal pressures, which may lead them to make decisions that favor perpetrators over victims?
Sir, do I have to answer or no?
It is not mandatory.
But I can. So the thing is that there are. It is not a single judge that is taking a decision. There is a consensus procedure. There are five or approximately five panchas who take the decision according to the consensus and majority. So a bias of a one member will not significantly affect the decision.
Thank you. Thank you for rest my case.
Okay, so thank you. Now I invite the third speaker from the proposition, that is the government whip, to put forth his opinion.
अच्छा बोला लगता है.
अभी लोग मारते हैं रखो.
One sec. I have to set up the camera.
अब इसका समझे नहीं यार कैसा एक्सेंट है.
Please turn on your camera and can
नॉर्मल
start.
व्यू लगा दे तो.
क्यों है ने? अच्छा
हमको नॉर्मल चाहिए.
उसे क्या होगा?
नहीं ठीक लगता है.
बीच में दिखता है ना, फिर अपना शक्ल देखने लगता है उधर चले जाओ. कहाँ गई रे स्पीकर?
Yeah, please
Yeah.
turn
अभी
on
देखिए.
your camera.
3, 2, 1, go. Good morning, honorable judge and fellow debaters. My name is Vairvan, and before I move on to my argument, I'd like to start off with my rebuttals. The other side mentioned that Naya Panchayats are well equipped to handle cases of rape and violence as they understand the local context and community dynamics better than outsiders. However, local knowledge does not equate to legal expertise. While local knowledge may help in some cases, it's not sufficient for handling serious crimes like rape. Rape is a criminal offense and justice cannot be compromised due to local biases or community pressure. Legal system provides protections for both the victim and the accused, something Naya Panchayats cannot guarantee. According to CEDAW Article 2 in the UN, India is required to ensure legal equality for women, meaning that women must have access to formal legal frameworks that protect their rights. Local informal justice systems often fail to do this, such as panchayats in sensitive cases like sexual violence. Another thing they mentioned was that panchayats are very efficient. They can make decisions super quickly. However, efficiency often means sacrificing legal rights. Maya panchayats might be able to resolve cases quickly, but their informal and unregulated nature means they often bypass critical legal safeguards. Victims are pressured to settle cases within the community or are coaxed into reconciliations with their rapists. This undermines the victim's constitutional rights under Article 21. They also talked about panchayats know the community well, thereby they would be able to make better decisions. While it may seem beneficial for panchayat members to know the people in their community, their closeness can often lead to bias and partially. In sensitive cases like rape, personal relationships, and community pressures, objectively leading to injustice, panchayat leaders might be inclined to protect family members or friends. What?
POI. POI.
I'll take it.
Yeah, so you're talking about that violation of fundamental rights. First of all, let's say the worst case scenario, but do you think the villagers will go to higher courts after walking such a distance every time they feel that their rights are being violated, while panchayats can offer, based on customary laws?
Yes, I get the point, but that we're not saying that like panchayats shouldn't even exist. They should just go walk to government. We're just saying there should be like a replacement. We're saying there should be a different system. Thereby, the POI is
Chat में
neglected.
लिखते हैं रुको.
Moving on to my arguments. Panchayats can perpetuate a culture of silence around rape and sexual violence. Many Naya panchayats, especially in rural areas, tend to underreport or ignore cases of rape. In 2018, reports by Human Rights Watches that highlighted that in some regions, local panchayat leaders encourage families to settle rape cases privately instead of involving policy or courts. In Uttar Pradesh, a high-profile gang rape case was settled by a local panchayat, with the victim's family being pressured to forgive the perpetrators. This demonstrates how panchayats actively obstruct justice, thereby perpetuating rape culture. Panchayats also violate the right of life and liberty, Indian Constitution Article 22, by failing to ensure proper investigation and prosecution of rape cases. Panchayats violate a woman's right to life and liberty under Article 21 of Indian Constitution. Evidence the Supreme Court of India has consistently held that Article 21 ensures the right to live with dignity, which includes the right of justice for victims of sexual violence. However, by allowing local panchayats to mediate cases of rape or sexual assault, panchayats obstruct victims' rights. For example, in Madhya Pradesh, a case of rape was initially dismissed by local panchayat, and the victim was pressured into settling the matter without police involvement. This victim's constitutional right to access justice and life with dignity was violated, thereby illegally doing something, which is that panchayats, they're informal, they do so many illegal activities. Then another other argument is that Nayab panchayats are prone to corruption and mismanagement. Evidence is that from CAG, Comptroller and Auditor General report in 2024 highlighted widespread financial irregularities in panchayats, including misappropriation of funds meant for rural development and welfare schemes. The lack of proper audits and oversight makes it easier for corruption to thrive in these local bodies. In Uttar Pradesh in 2021, an investigation revealed that the NREGA funds allocated for rural development were misused due to lack of transparency at the panchayat level. Other argument is that panchayat leaders are usually unqualified and lack governance skills. Many leaders lack formal education in governance training, which can result in poor decision making and failure to properly execute development programs or address critical issues such as education. Example and evidence: the National Panchayati Raj Day in 2020 study indicated that only 30% of panchayat leaders have a formal education beyond 7th grade. This lack of education and training impedes effective governance, as many local leaders are unable to navigate the complexities of state and central governance schemes. The case study to back this up is that in Bihar, the local panchayat leader, despite being elected, had no experience or education in governance. As a result, key projects like National Rural Health Mission were poorly executed, leading to wasteful expenditure and lack of healthcare delivery. Another argument is that Nayab panchayats do not ensure proper implementations of national policies such as Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana and other WC34. Nayab panchayats also contribute to increased political polarization, and they can hinder women's empowerment. They also lead to inconsistent development as they don't understand the economy. A study showed that only 8% of Nayab panchayats actually take into consideration cleaning drinking water as a necessity. Thereby, should be
Please conclude.
with that I rest.
मेरे को नोटिस दिखा रहा
All right. Thank you, Gomrit, for your speech. Now, moving to the last speaker from the opposition, that is the speaker number 3 at the opposition whip. So I invite him on the stage to put forth his opinion.
I'll be starting in a self count of 3, 2, and 1. Sir, as the opposition whip, I'll now be clarifying why my case is far better and far superior than the opposition. Now, we dream of a nation where justice is prioritized over anything, and we create an environment that increases access to justice and not minimizes the availability of justice. Banning Nyaya Panchayats would increase burden on the already burdened courts of India and will reduce primary source of justice for many people in rural areas. As a common citizen of this nation, living in a village with no royal background, one cannot afford to file a case every time in the higher courts of India and wait for the justice even after dying. Here, Nyaya Panchayats serve as an inexpensive, easily accessible way to ensure or expect actions of justice. Banning Nyaya Panchayats would directly lead to exclusion of local customs, traditions and dynamics. In such a vast nation like India, where cultures and tradition changes in every walk of kilometers, decentralization of justice to understand variety of issues related to variety of problems by local men is absolutely necessary. As a person living in South Delhi, I can never understand the local issues of Mohanpur village of Bihar like the people living there. Local communities should involve local people to resolve their disputes, promoting self-reliance. Banning Nyaya Panchayat would cause increase in social conflicts when people feel that justice is denied to them. We already have lots of communal rights going on in the country, and we cannot afford to increase them by banning Nyaya Panchayats. Sir, the current Gram Nyayalayas take the perfect shape of the formal court, losing the very trait of a rural justice ideology. The need of the hour is to return to Nyaya Panchayat system so as to preserve the originality of the Panchayat ideology and contributing effectively as well as inexpensively in the rural justice delivery with concentrated efforts of center and the state governments. Now, let's take an example of the Narmada Bachao Andolan. This long-run movement in India was opposing the construction of the Sardar Sarovar Dam, and the thousands of people were, asking for rehabilitation issues. So, and this case went in the High Court and took many years to resolve. Now, imagine if Nyaya Panchayats would look into this case. Then Nyaya Panchayats would have helped this local issue and rights rehabilitation and could have been addressed and at an early stage. And with their knowledge of local customs, they would have facilitated dialogue between the displaced communities, the government, and the dam authorities, and it could have provided quicker and more accessible platforms. Now I'll come to all the rebuttals of what my proposition side said. Often heard critics about Nyaya Panchayats is the lack of transparency. See, many Nyaya Panchayats conduct public hearings where community members can observe proceedings and participate in the decision-making process. I also suggest to implement standardized processes and record-keeping practices within Nyaya Panchayats that will further improve transparency. Regular audits can be conducted to help identify and address any issue of bias and corruption. Another critic is that Nyaya Panchayats and Panchayats lack legal expertise, as have been said by most of the speakers. We have to understand that Nyaya Panchayat primarily deal with local disputes, often involving customary law, social norms, and land rights. The member possess valuable political wisdom and knowledge of local customs, social dynamics, and community values, which are crucial for understanding and resolving these issues. Many Nyaya Panchayats include respected elders and community leaders who have sufficient life experience and knowledge of local laws and customs, and this collective wisdom can be very valuable in reaching fair justice systems. My suggestion would be, as my first speaker proposed the model of a legal aid and paralegal to be present at the Nyaya Panchayats, that would further felicitate whenever there is a need of a law person to identify such cases. To all questions regarding constitutionality of Nyaya Panchayats were founded squarely on the constitutional ideal of justice and its essential feature, that is establishment of decentralized dispute redressal system. Both Supreme Court and High Courts in different cases have respectively held the Constitution does not prohibit the establishment of Nyaya Panchayats. Now also, appeals against the decision of Nyaya Panchayat to higher courts are very few in number. The 14th Law Commission of India told that a very small percentage of the decisions of these courts were taken to superior courts like High Courts, and out of those taken, only a very small proportion was reversed. This proves that villagers in general are satisfied with the administration of justice in this system. It was found that only 10% of the Panchayat judgments that parties moved in the regular courts, in most cases these higher courts have held the judgment of the Nyaya Panchayat. This shows that the existing Nyaya Panchayats are proving to be effective vehicles in securing the constitutional ideal of justice. We have to understand that the worst case scenario in ours could be like, in some villages there might be some decisions that are not very legal but are in the customary laws. So that is even better than having no justice. Having some sort of justice is always better than having no justice and running to the Supreme Courts and High Courts and waiting for years and years. Thus, in conclusion, I finally believe that Nyaya Panchayats for all its features should exist in today's scenario, and banning it in no means is appropriate. We have to improvise Nyaya Panchayats, but banning is not the solution. Thank you.
Great. It was a wonderful speech by the opposition whip. Now, both the teams, proposition and opposition, you all have put forth your opinion, and I have given you the marks as per that. Now, I will be back by the 5 minutes with the results, oral education, and personal feedback. So, I will be joining after 5 minutes. Please be in the room. Thank you.
भाई इस बार हम लोग अच्छा हुआ, पूरा
बहुत अच्छा हुआ,
क्रेजी कर
मौज हो गया।
पिछला भी अच्छा ही था,
पिछला
बस उसके सामने
की वजह से
देखो पिछला इस बार हम लोग प्रिपरेशन हम लोग पहले ये किए थे ना, तो हमको ज्यादा हो है।
अबे खोल लो,
तीनों का
टॉपिक भी इजी है, वो भी तो सोचो।
हाँ
टॉपिक भी तो है, वो उसमें हार्ड भी है वो।
सब पॉइंट बोल दिए भाई, अब भी नहीं जीते कोई फायदा नहीं।
नहीं ऑनलाइन मंगा लेते हैं कुछ भूख भी आ रहा है देखते हैं हम तो चाहे खराब से ही हो तो कहीं चल जाएगा उत्पम का घोल वो बोलता है कि आज मंगाएंगे तो ऑनलाइन क्या होगा चाउमीन बना देना चाहिए नहीं मंगा लेते आप क्या है नहीं उतना चलिए ना मंगा लेते हैं कुछ
पिज्जा वगैरह मंगा लेते हैं
हाँ भूख भी आ
वो
गया
मील वाला नहीं होता क्या बोलते हैं मील वाला नहीं आता है एक तो
Hi, what's happening in this room?
हाँ तो एक ही आदमी 3 मील मंगा लेंगे
पिज्जा नहीं मंगाएगा
Waiting.
The judge is
Uh,
calculating the results, ma'am.
Ma'am, the judge is calculating the results. We just finished speaking.
Okay.
ओके
बजाओ ढोल स्वागत में भाई हम भी जा रहे कुंभ एग्जाम बाद
इसके साथ
दोस्त लोग रहेगा मम्मा भी बोली मम्मा को भी बहुत मन है, मम्मा भी शायद चले आर्यन और ते भी चलेगा कोई ले
जाओ
तुम भी चलो भाई बहुत मजा आएगा सॉरी
मजा नहीं आएगा ऐसा कोई
अरे भीड़ नहीं है भाई
सामने का फोन
हेलो हाँ भाई कौन सा
हाँ कोई होगा तो बता
नाम तो लो हाँ नहीं यार बोल ना अभी नहीं है
चाय कॉफी पिएगा कुछ
नहीं
अरे जाओ भी ऑर्डर करो कुछ
बोल बोल तो
कौन है?
हाँ सौम्यादीप है
क्या हुआ?
पता नहीं ऐसी फोन
तो
किया
भाई बहुत क्रेजी क्विज का पता चला है
क्या कीजिए भाई कुछ करो ऑर्डर
अरे तो समझ नहीं स्वामी इतना भी डेस्परेट क्यों है क्योंकि हम लोग ना सही में अगर स्टेज में जाते ना पक्का जीतते भाई पक्का
अबे हाँ और डेस्परेट थोड़ा है
क्योंकि हम लोग वो होता है ना कि मान लो जैसे पिछले बार हम लोग का था उतना हम लोग को बहुत ज्यादा भी नहीं आता था
अबे वैसा उसने
लेकिन
जानता है
इस-
डेस्परेट क्यों है ये सब तो सेकेंडरी रीजन है फर्स्ट रीजन पता है बोला कि भाई घर आए ना तो पापा बोले कि हो गया तुम्हारा फिर नहीं जीता ठीक है तो वो बोल रहा है कि पापा को ऐसा लग रहा है ना कि हम अब हो गया मेरा क्विजिंग
अबे नहीं भाई सौम्यदीप भाई है भाई टॉप क्विजर है भाई सौम्यदीप
अबे बहुत क्विज करता है भाई उसके बाद हम 2 दिन उसका घर में रुके ना दिमाग खराब है
क्या कहता है
साला कोई कॉलेज का क्विज में लेके बैठ जाएगा साला कहीं भी घुस के गाली खाएगा कि कहाँ है तुम आया हुआ है लेकिन घुसेगा साला
अबे नहीं स्टेज पे जाते ना मेरे को भी अच्छा खासे क्वेश्चन सब आ रहा था और उसको तो मैक्सिमम आ रहा वो जाते हैं पक्का डोमिनेट कर देते हैं भाई हम लोग सारा प्रीलिम्स से नहीं निकलता है प्लीज मेरी भाई सैंड बेसिलिका बॉम्ब जिसे आता था सौम्यदीप का इसे गाली दे दिया ना तो नहीं ये आंसर हो ही नहीं सकता लिखा ही नहीं होला
अबे मैं जीन क्यों दिखाया है
नहीं म्यूट है
अबे वो करो ना कुछ
क्या करे?
ऑर्डर करो
हाँ कुछ ऑर्डर कर लो बंगा
कौन
क्या खाएगा
अभी थर्ड स्पीच है बाबू
अभी है
अब मतलब अभी
तो 1 घंटा है ना तुम तभी ना खाएंगे आधा घंटा लगेगा आने में करो ना
क्या
क्या
खाएगा?
पिज्जा
खाएगा
मंगा लो
तो खोलो ना एक बार
अरे
जोमेटो
तो मेरा टैब है भाई टैब में क्या करें
अरे तेरे पास है यार
हाँ है
यार डोमिनोज से मंगाया पिज्जा हट से
नहीं पिज्जा नहीं डोमिनोज
अबे पिज्जा हट में जब तक कूपन था
हाँ।
अभी तक खाने का
कहाँ
अब
है?
तो
हमको
कूपन नहीं
पिज्जा हट
मिलता
अच्छा
है।
अबे
लगता है।
भैया वो खुल गया ना खुद ही खा लेता है
हमको तो अच्छा लगता है पिज्जा हट
डोमिनोज से मील ही मंगा लेते
अबे यहाँ पी नो इबी नहीं मंगाएंगे वो
तो अच्छा कोई पिज्जा देख के
हाँ
भाई वहाँ कोलकाता में ऐसा पिज्जा मंगाया था इतना स्पाइसी
वो
सेजवान
अच्छा
वाला
लग गया था
अच्छा था लेकिन मैं
वहीं से वही आप मंगाएगा
नहीं,
यहाँ पिनो से
लापिनोज भी मंगा सकते लेकिन उनको पिज्जा ही खाना पक्का और क्या ही खा सकते
भाई
हैं और फिर नॉन वेज तो यहाँ घर में लाएंगे कुछ वेज ही मंगाओ चलो पार्टनर चल
यहाँ पिनो से मंगाने का मेरा मन कर रहा है
खोल ले पहले डोमिनोज को फिर लापिनोज भी खोल ले
नाम क्यों खोलना है क्या कहेगा सब खोल के
देख ले
क्या कहेगा देख के
वहाँ केएफसी खा रहा है एयरपोर्ट में बहुत अच्छा लगा पर ना
क्या कहेगा
क्या Domino's?
यहाँ पिनो खोल
लापिनोज अच्छा होता है
हाँ
वो कहे कि डोमिनोज का क्रश ठीक होता है
हाँ,
नहीं, नहीं।
तो हमको तो
दो डोमिनोज का भी थीन ही रहता है
नहीं आता है पता नहीं आता
जो
यहाँ।
मांगना मंगाओ भाई।
अबे डोमिनोज में चीज बस अच्छा लगता है
अबे लास्ट राउंड में भी ऐसा मिल गया ना भाई
अबे लक का गेम है लेकिन सॉरी
वही
अब लेकिन नहीं भी है
कि अब तो
हम
इसलिए
बोले
बोलते ज़्यादा जीत
हम
जीत
बोले
नहीं
क्यों
सोच
नहीं
रहे।
All
है
right, so both the team, the proposition and opposition, kindly turn on your camera.
मुझे नहीं ऑन किया है कैंडिडेट कैमरा।
I am ready with the result and the
देखना
overall education.
आवाज़ बढ़ा तो भी।
कौन सा बढ़ता
हाँ
So,
speaker
first of all, it
से
was a very
GS
wonderful speech, as the motion was that this house would ban Nyay Panchayats. And both the proposition and opposition have well sound have put forth their opinion, and the result was this, that the team opposition wins because the arguments had the greater societal impact and scope and magnitude. And I think the opposition team also well supported with examples and rebuttals with stronger than the proposition side. So this was the result. Now coming to the personal feedback. So both the team, the proposition opposition can have. I'd like to start from the proposition. If you want the personal feedback, I can give you.
Yes, please. We would like personal feedback.